Well, hello there, my beautiful people. It's Warren from Warren's Team Talk YouTube channel, and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're all healthy and well and happy. Thank you so much for coming to watch my latest video, which today is part 11 of England's most successful football club. So on my side, I have to say that this week I'm absolutely raging. So I can hear you all saying, what is the matter with him now? What's happened? Why is Warren going off the deep end about this time? Well, this time it's two things, right? One, fucking British Gas, and two, Celtic Football Club. Now, the first of these two things, British Gas, is because those fucking bastards have left me without any heating or hot water now since yesterday. And they have got no idea when they're going to be able to sort it out for me. Apparently, there's a part that they need to order to repair my boiler, but they've got no idea when it's going to arrive. Now, when I questioned them about this, they said, oh, it's because the part that you need for your boiler is out of stock. It's out of stock. What are you fucking talking about? Honestly, how can it be out of stock? It's a fucking joke. And as I said to them, well, when the stock level gets to a certain level, don't you reorder? And they couldn't answer the question. So for me, to be honest, I just think it's a money-making exercise because they've left me here with this fan heater, which is costing me an absolute fortune. But at least I've got some sort of heating, but it's an absolute fucking nightmare, especially this time of the year. Now, the second thing that's pissing me off is the stuff at Celtic Football Club. Now, what the hell is going on? This is one of my three clubs, a club that I love very much and I'm very passionate about. I mean, in my opinion, the whole situation is an absolute fucking shambles. How hell has this been allowed to happen? How is it that a club the size of Celtic can be allowed to fucking fall apart in the way that it has? How is it that it's gone from a position where it was last year and the last 9 years where it's been completely dominant in Scottish football, so much so that it's won every single trophy on offer in the Scottish League league system for the last 3-4 years. So how was this? And now it looks like we might not even win one this year or even come close to it. So how can the wheels have come off so badly that this has been allowed to happen? And why is it that no one has seen this coming and done anything to stop it, halt this decline? It's absolutely ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. So my question is, how much longer are the people in positions of power at Celtic Football Club going to allow this embarrassing circus to continue? Because it is a fucking circus, let's be honest about it. I mean, for me, the whole thing was summed up in a nutshell by the fucking ridiculousness of that fucking press conference the other day with Neil Lennon. Yes, the issues that he raised in that press conference were true. There is an agenda against Celtic Football Club from the Scottish FA and the Scottish government. Why, if the Scottish government was so worried and so concerned about Celtic going to Dubai or wherever it was they went for this training camp, why the fucking hell did they give them a permission to go? Because permission was sought. And yes, the issues that he raised in the press conference were true and whatever. but I'm sorry, you can't fucking behave like that in a press conference when you're the manager of a club the size of Celtic. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. You know, surely the club has got a media team that advises people who are going to have to speak to the media about what to say and what not to say. So why the hell didn't they step in and say something to him? And then apparently as well, I haven't been able to see the full press conference, but midway through the press conference, he was told that there was another player who'd been tested positive for COVID. Why the hell did that happen? Why didn't they just leave it until after the press conference and then sort it out afterwards? Honestly, it's shambles, it's amateurish, and it's a fucking embarrassment. And I'm sick to the back teeth of it. And the other thing is, it's not, for me, it's not just Neil Lennon. There are other people at that club who need to have a long, hard look at themselves and should be either tendering their resignations or at the very least, having a long, hard look at themselves and, you know, thinking about how they can turn this situation around. Unfortunately, I have to say that Neil Lennon needs to go. I know that deep down he's a Celtic supporter. I do understand that. And the bullshit that man has had to put up with it during both his reigns as Celtic manager has been nothing short of disgraceful. You know, with things like death threats, being attacked by opposition supporters, and the comments are obviously made to him during that game when him and that wanker fucking Ali McCoist confronted each other on the touchline. You know, it's just absolutely ridiculous. There is no way that I would have fucking put up with that. Not for any team, no matter how much I love them. I just wouldn't not do it. So fair play to him for all of that. And the fact that he came in when the club needed him the most, when Brendan Rodgers walked out on the club, and he came in and made sure that the club was able to continue on and still win the title and all the rest of it, it is testament to him. But I'm sorry, the situation now is becoming ridiculous, and you know, the club can't be run on sentiment. The man needs to go. Unfortunately, he's not doing it anymore, and they need to get someone in who can do it. I mean, I know it's going to be difficult for them to be able to appoint someone at this stage of the game, and don't even begin to ask me who I think that person should be. But yeah, they need a new manager, and fast. So yeah, that's what's pissing me off. Anyway, so one good piece of news this week for me was the inauguration of President Joe Biden. Congratulations, Joe, and I wish you all the luck in the world. And I have to say that I'm relieved to see that one-man weapon of mass destruction, Donald Trump, or Donald fucking Duck as I like to call him, has finally gone. And, you know, hopefully now we can all move forward, and, you know, because the problem is that whoever sits as the president of the United States has an effect on all of us, not just the American people, everyone throughout the whole world. So anyway, enough of my rants. Good luck to President Biden, and I hope, thanks for coming to watch my video again, and enough of my rants and outpourings, and let's get on with the show. Okay, everyone, so we're on the Warren's Team Talk bus, and we're making our way up to the north of England to go and visit Oldham Athletic. So Oldham Athletic are the first club that we're going to talk about today. Oldham Athletic were known, and who are known as the Latic, Latics. Their history started with the formation of a club named Pine Villa in 1895, and then when their neighbours Oldham County folded in 1899, Pine Villa moved into their stadium and changed their name to Oldham Athletic, and then were elected into the Football League. They finished third in 1907-08 season, which was their first season in the Football League, and then they won promotion out of the second division, Tier 2, in 1909-10 season, when they finished second and were promoted to Tier 1. So that was quite a right good start to their life in the Football League. So fair play to them. Anyway, they then went on to finish fourth in 1913, the 1913-14 season in Tier 1, and then second in the first division, Tier 1, in 1914-15, but missed out on the title by 1 point to Merseyside giants Everton. Then in 1929-30, they secured a third place finish in Tier 2, but missed out on promotion back to Tier 1 by just 2 points to Chelsea. They then, in 1936-37, 37-38 and 1951-52, finished fourth in Tier 3, but were not promoted in any of these seasons, purely because of the way that promotion works between the second and third tiers of the English Football League at that time, which is something I've spoken about in previous episodes of England's most successful football club. Anyway, so, however, in 1952-1953 season, they won the Tier 3 title and won promotion back to Tier 2. When the third division North and South were reorganised into two new leagues called the third division Tier 3 and fourth division Tier 4. They were placed into the newly formed fourth division, because I think I mentioned this last week, but basically what happened at the end of the last season of the third division North and the third division South, what the English Football League did was to place the teams that finished in the top half of the third division North and South into the newly formed third division, and then the teams that finished in the bottom halves of the third division North and third division South went into the newly formed fourth division. So I hope that all makes sense, but that's basically what happened. And this happened from the start of the 1958-59 season. Then in 1962-63, they secured a second place finish in Tier 4 and were promoted to Tier 3. Then when they suffered a relegation to Tier 4 in 1969, they were then promoted back again to Tier 3 in 1970-71, when they finished third in Tier 4. Then a gentleman by the name of Jimmy Frizzell managed the club from 1970 to 1982. And under his leadership, Oldham finished fourth in Tier 4 in 1972-73, but they were not promoted. But they did win the third division Tier 3 title in 1973-74. He was then succeeded by Joe Royle, who had a 12-year spell in charge, during which time Oldham finished fourth in Tier 2 in 1986-87, but were not promoted because they lost in the semi-finals of the playoffs to Leeds United on the away goals rule in the semi-finals, I think, maybe. Anyway, sorry about that. They then reached the League Cup final in 1990, when they lost 1-0 to Nottingham Forest in the final at Wembley Stadium in front of a crowd of 74,000 people. And this was then followed up the very next season in 1990-91 by them winning the second division Tier 2 title, which took them back into the top flight of English football for the first time in 68 years. Since then, unfortunately, the club have not enjoyed any further success. Okay, so we've hopped back on the Warren's Team Talk bus, and it's taken us back down south to Watford. Now, Watford obviously is the next team today, and we're going to find out all about them now. So, Watford, they claim their origins back to a club called Watford Rovers, who were formed in 1881, and it started operating as Watford Football Club in 1898, and they then joined the Football League in 1920. The team played at several grounds in their early history before moving to Vicarage Road in 1922. For three successive seasons in 1936-37, 1937-38, and 1938-39, and then again in 1953-54, the club achieved fourth place finishes in Tier 3, but were not promoted to Tier 2 during any of those seasons. In 1959-60, they finished 4th in Tier 4, and they then won promotion to Tier 3. And the next season, the 1960-61 season, they achieved another 4th place finish in Tier 3, but again, they did not win promotion up to Tier 2 at that point. This was followed up 3 years later when they finished 3rd in Tier 3 in 1963-64, and they repeated this again in another 3 years when they finished 3rd again in 1966-67 in Tier 3. Now, they then finally in the 1968-69 season, they won the Tier 3 title on goal average over Swindon Town, who they finished equal on points with to win promotion to Tier 2. Graham Taylor, the famous Graham Taylor, who went on to manage the English national team, began at the club was at the club between 1977 and 1987, and saw Watford rise from the 4th tier of English football to the 1st. This started in the 1977-78 season when they won the Tier 4 title, and then the next season, 1978-79, they finished 2nd in Tier 3 to win promotion to Tier 2. And then 3 years later, in 1981-82, they secured a 2nd place finish in Tier 2 to win promotion to Tier 1. In the team's first season in 1982-83 in the 1st division, Tier 1, they finished 2nd and qualified for the UEFA Cup. They then reached the 3rd round of the UEFA Cup, where they lost 7-2 on aggregate to Sparta Prague, and they also reached the 1984 FA Cup final, where they lost 2-0 to Everton at Wembley Stadium. Now, I remember this cup final because I remember seeing Elton John in the stands at Wembley crying when Abide With Me was being sung by the fans. Obviously, I mean, he's a massive, massive Watford fan, so it must have been quite emotional for him to be able to see the fruits of his labour and see that Watford had been able to reach an FA Cup final, so fair play to him. Watford then declined between 1987 and 1997. During this, though, they managed to secure a fourth place finish in 1988-89 in Tier 2, but missed out on promotion by losing to Blackburn Rovers in the playoffs before Taylor returned as manager. Graham Taylor then led the team to successive promotions from the renamed Second Division Tier 3 to the Premier League Tier 1 for one season in 1999-2000. They did this by winning the Tier 3 title in 1997-98 and then the next season 1998-99. They then finished fifth in Tier 2 and were promoted to Tier 1 after beating Bolton Wanderers 2-0 in the playoff final. The club played again in the highest tier in 2006-2007 season under Aidy Boythroyd's management after they finished third in Tier 2 in 2005-2006 and defeated Leeds United 3-0 in the playoff final. They again finished third in Tier 2 in the 2012-13 season, but were not promoted on this occasion as they lost 1-0 to Crystal Palace in the playoff final. Then in 2014-15 season, Watford finished second in Tier 2 and won automatic promotion back to Tier 1, and they stayed in Tier 1 until they were relegated in the 2019-20 season. The Hornets made it to the FA Cup final for the second time in their history in 2019, and on this occasion they suffered a torrid afternoon when they lost 6-0 to Manchester City, which equalled the record set by Bury when they beat Derby 6-0 in 1903. The club have Elton John as a lifelong supporter, as I mentioned earlier, and he has been involved with the club in various guises since 1976 when he became chairman. Okay, so we're back on the Warren's Team Talk bus and we're heading up north again. And this time we're going to pop in to see Barnsley. Now, hopefully Barnsley have a nice cup of tea and some biscuits for us when we get there. Anyway, so we're visiting Barnsley. Now, Barnsley Football Club, or the Tykes as they're known, were formed in 1887, and they have spent more seasons in the second tier of English football than any other club in history, and produced some notable talents over the years who have gone on to be successful at other clubs. One such example is Tommy Taylor, who was a prolific goal scorer for Barnsley in the early 1950s, and he went on to win 2 league titles with Manchester United, as well as scoring 16 times for England in 19 international appearances. Unfortunately, though, he went on to lose his life in the 1958 Munich air disaster. Barnsley managed to join the Football League in 1898, and then Barnsley were runners-up in the 1910 FA Cup final when they lost 2-0 to Newcastle United after a replay, when the first game ended in a 1-1 draw. This This match was played at Crystal Palace in front of a crowd of 77,000, and the replay was held at Goodison Park in front of a crowd of 69,000 people. 2 years later, in 1912, they made up for this disappointment, though, when they won the FA Cup after defeating West Bromwich Albion after a replay, which was held in a replay 1-0, which was held at Bramall Lane in front of a crowd of 38,555. After, again, the first game obviously ended in a draw. This match was held at Crystal Palace in front of a crowd of 54,000, and the game, as I say, ended in a 0-0 draw. The first time that they had any league success came in the 1912-13 season, when they secured a fourth place finish in Tier 2, and during that season they only lost one game at home all season. And then 2 years later, in the 1914-15 season, they finished third in Tier 2, but were not promoted. In 1921-22, they finished third in Tier 2, but missed out on promotion to Tier 1 on goal average by 0.076 of a goal to Stoke City, or as they were known then, Stoke. A further 12 years later, in the 1933-34 season, they won the Tier 3 title and they won promotion to Tier 2. And during this season, they remained unbeaten at home, and in fact only drew 3 games all season. Their complete record for that season at home was play 21, won 18, drew 3, lost none. Goals for 16 and goals against 18, which I think you'll agree is quite an impressive record. The club then won the Tier 3 title again in the 1938-39 season, which was the last season before the outbreak of World War II. And this season saw them promoted back to Tier 2. And during this season, they also had another impressive home record when they only drew 2 and lost 1 out of their 21 home games and scored a thumping 60 goals. And they only conceded 12. So another fine season from the Tykes there. When football recommenced in 1946-47, but it wasn't for a further 6 years before Barnsley enjoyed any success, which came in the 1953-54 season, when they finished second in Tier 3, but missed out on the Tier 3 title and promotion to Tier 2 by 1 point to Port Vale. And then the next season, 1954-55, they softened the blow of this disappointment of missing out on promotion and the title the previous year, when they won the Tier 3 title and secured promotion to Tier 2 again. 13 years then passed until they enjoyed any further success. And then in 1967-68, they finished second in Tier 4 and won automatic promotion back to Tier 3. Another 11 years then passed, and then in the 1978-79 season, they secured a 4th place finish in Tier 4 and won automatic promotion back to Tier 3. Then 2 years later, in the 1980-81 season, they finished second in Tier 3, and they missed out on winning the Tier 3 title by 2 points to Rotherham United, but won automatic promotion to Tier 2. So yeah, that was good though, wasn't it? I mean, at least they still won promotion, I guess. Then in the 1996-97 season, they secured a second place finish in Tier 2 and won promotion to the Premier League. But unfortunately, the Tykes were then relegated back to Tier 2 the next season. So it wasn't a particularly happy stay for them in England's top flight. This disappointment was then followed up in 1999-2000 with the Tykes securing a fourth place finish in Tier 2. But sadly, they did not win promotion because they lost 4-2 to Ipswich Town in the playoff final and so missed out on promotion. Then in the 2005-2006 season, the club finished fifth in League One, Tier 3, and were promoted to Tier 2 as a result of them beating Swansea City 4-3 on penalties in the playoff final. The club then won the 2016 Football League trophy when they beat Oxford United 3-2 in the final at Wembley Stadium with a crowd of 59,230 in attendance. The club also secured a sixth place finish in League One, Tier 3 obviously, and were then promoted back to Tier 2 after beating Millwall 3-1 in the playoff final. Finally, in 2018-19, Barnsley finished second in Tier 3 to win promotion back to Tier 2. Okay, so we're back on the Warren's Team Talk bus and we're going back down south again. So today we're really putting the miles in, aren't we? Up, down, up, down, up, down. Honestly, we're up and down more than the newlyweds duvet. So, but anyway, well, we're heading back down, and this time we're going to pop in and see Luton Town, and find out all about what's happened to them over the years. So, Luton Town Football Club, nicknamed the Hatters, were formed in 1885, and as with other clubs who have got nicknames like linked to particular types of industries, I believe that the reason that Luton Town are called the Hatters is because Luton's got a strong tradition of hat making. Whether that's true or not, I have absolutely no idea. But if anyone knows and they want to put it in the comments and confirm it or give me the real reason as to why that is, please feel free to let me know because I'll be delighted to find out. Anyway, they joined the Football League before the start of the 1897-98 season and left in 1900 because of financial problems, but then rejoined in 1920. In the 1921-22 season and 1934-35 seasons, they finished fourth in Tier 3, but unfortunately did not secure promotion to Tier 2 on either occasion. But then the very next season, in 1935-36, they finished second in Tier 3, but missed out on promotion to Tier 2. And the Tier 3 title by 1 point to Coventry City. Then in the 1936-37 season, they won the Tier 3 title with a very impressive home record and won promotion to Tier 2. That season, their home record was played 21, won 19, drew 1 and lost 1. Goals for 69 and goals against 16. So again, another team with a highly impressive home record. Then in 1952-53, they secured a third place finish in Tier 2, but they did not win promotion. But they followed this up 2 years later in 1954-55 season by finishing second in Tier 2. In a season, the top 3 clubs in the league all finished on 54 points, but were separated by goal average, and Luton missed out on the Tier 2 title to Birmingham City by 0.297 of a goal. But this disappointment was softened by the fact that they won promotion to Tier 1. The Hatters then contested a major final for the very first time when they lost 2-1 to Nottingham Forest in the 1959 FA Cup final. Their next success came in the 1967-68 season when they won the Tier 4 title and were promoted to Tier 3. This was then followed up but the very next season by them finishing third in Tier 3. But unfortunately, they did not win promotion that season. But then the next year, in 1969-1970, they finished second in Tier 3 and won promotion up to Tier 2, but missed out on the Tier 3 title to Leyton Orient, known as Orient at the time, by 2 points. So the club then, just 3 years later, in the 1973-74 season, were promoted to Tier 1 when they finished second in Tier 2. Luton Town's most recent successful period then began in the 1981-82 season when the club won the second division Tier 2 title and thereby gained promotion to Tier 1, and they stayed in Tier 1 for 10 years. Luton then defeated Arsenal 3-2 in the 1988 Football League Cup final, a game that I attended with a lot of my Arsenal supporting mates, and it still pains me today what happened in that final. Arsenal went ahead 2-1, and Arsenal were absolutely battering Luton and had shots cleared off the line. They hit the bar as far as I can remember. And then suddenly the game just turned round and Luton ended up winning 3-2. I still can't get my head around the fact that they lost that game. How they managed to snatch defeat out the jaws of victory is beyond me. But anyway, they did. Anyway, so yeah, they beat Arsenal 3-2 to win the 1988 League Cup final. And unfortunately, the next season, they lost 3-1 to Nottingham Forest in the 1989 League Cup final. Then in 1996-97, they secured a third place finish in Tier 3, but failed to win promotion to Tier 2 when they lost 4-3 on aggregate to Crewe Alexandra in the playoff semi-finals. Then in the 2001-2002 season, the Hatters finished second in Tier 4 and won promotion to Tier 3 with a massive 97 points. And this was followed in 2004-2005 by them winning the Tier 3 title again with another huge points total of 98. In 2009, they returned to Wembley again when they won the EFL trophy by beating Scunthorpe 3-2 after extra time. And then in 2016-17, they finished fourth in Tier 4, but were not promoted because they lost 6-5 on aggregate to Blackpool in the playoff semi-finals. Then the following two seasons, 2017-18 and 2018-19, they achieved two successive promotions to get themselves back into the second tier of English football. They did this by first of all in 2017-18 finishing second in Tier 4, and then 2018 winning the Tier 3 title. Okay, so off we go, we're on again, and we've turned up at Crystal Palace, and look at this, they put on a fireworks display for us. That's really nice of them, isn't it? So here we go, we're off to see Crystal Palace, and like I say, look at these wonderful fireworks that they put on. Now the fireworks are especially for two great mates, Phil and Steve. I hope you enjoy the fireworks. I know that they're big Crystal Palace fans, so I hope you enjoy that. And anyway, so we're going to talk about Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal Palace Football Club have an official date for their formation of 1905 in the records books, but the club claimed to be a continuation of the original amateur Crystal Palace Football Club, which were established in 1861, and this would make them the oldest professional football club in the world. Both the amateur and professional clubs played inside the grounds of the Crystal Palace exhibition building, with the professional club using the FA Cup final stadium for its home games until 1915, when they were forced to leave due to the outbreak of the First World War. Then in 1924, they moved to their current home ground at Sellers Park, and Sellers Park, I don't know if any of you have been there, has got a famous stand there, and it used to be called the White Wall, but I'm not really sure if it's still there any longer. I suspect because of the all-seater stadiums and what have you, there probably isn't. Anyway, the amateur club became one of the original founder members of the Football Association in 1863, and competed in the first ever FA Cup competition in 1871-72 season. When they reached the semi-finals, but disappeared from the historical records after the 1875-76 FA Cup. Crystal Palace did eventually join the Football League in 1920, and have overall spent the majority of their league history competing in the top two tiers of English football. In 1920-21 season, they won the Tier 1 title, Tier 2 title, and were promoted to Tier 1. And then in the 1928-29 season, they finished second in Tier 3, but missed out on promotion on goal average, and the Tier 3 title to Oldham Athletic by a mere 0.224 of a goal. Then in the 1930-31 season, they finished second in Tier 3 and fourth in Tier 3 the next year in the 1931-32 season, but did not win promotion on either occasion. Then in the 1938-39 season, they finished second in Tier 3, but again, they did not win promotion. They then followed this up. They then followed a barren spell for the Eagles until they finished second in Tier 4 in 1960-61. This was followed up in the 1963-64 season, when they finished second on goal average to Coventry City by 0.176 of a goal in Tier 3, but still won promotion to Tier 2. And since then, the club have only dropped below the second tier once, for 3 seasons between 1974 and 1977. In the 1968-69 season, Crystal Palace secured a second place finish in Tier 2 and were promoted to Tier 1. Then 8 years later, they were back in Tier 3, and they finished third in Tier 3 in 1976-77 and were promoted to Tier 2. Then 2 years later, in the 1978-79 season, they successfully won the Tier 2 title to win promotion back to Tier 1. The club then secured a third-place finish in the Tier 2 in the 1988-89 season and won promotion to Tier 1 by beating Blackburn Rovers 4-3 on aggregate in the playoff final. And the very next season, 1989-90, they reached the FA Cup final where they eventually lost to Manchester United 1-0 after a replay, with the first game at Wembley ending in a 3-3 draw. This game saw Ian Wright, who is Arsenal's second highest ever goal scorer, coming off the bench to put Palace 3-2 up in extra time, only for Mark Hughes to score a last gasp equaliser to take the game to a replay. The next season, 1990-91, the Eagles secured their highest ever league finish of third in Tier 1. And this was followed up in 1993-94 by them winning the Tier 2 title with an impressive points haul of 90 points. And then 2 years later, in 1995-96, when back in Tier 2, they secured a third-place finish in Tier 2. But unfortunately, they did not win promotion as they lost 2-1 after extra time to Leicester City in the playoff final. In the 2012-13 season, they secured a fifth-place finish in Tier 2 and went on to win promotion to Tier 1 after beating Watford 1-0 after extra time in the playoff final, and they have remained in Tier 1 ever since. Crystal Palace reached the FA Cup final for the second time in their history in the 2015-16 season, when they again lost to Manchester United, but this time by 2-1 in front of a crowd of 88,000. Now, Crystal Palace, I seem to remember, in the early 80s, got dubbed the team of the 80s because they had a really exciting team, which, as far as I remember, it included Vince Hilaire, Kenny Sansom, Dave Swindlehurst, and a few others. And I remember being at Selhurst Park when they played Arsenal, and I went along with a mate of mine at the time and his mum, as we were quite young. I think we were both about 12 or 13 or something, and saw Crystal Palace win 1-0. Basically, what happened, as I seem to remember, was Dave Swindlehurst fell over and someone had a shot and it sort of hit him on the head and bounced in Arsenal's net. But yeah, so yeah, I remember that quite well, really. Yeah, so that's Crystal Palace. So that was good, wasn't it? I hope you enjoyed the fireworks as I did. Lovely to see that. Anyway, so that's Crystal Palace. Okay, so here we go. The Warrens Team Talk bus has now moved on to Brighton, and we're going to go and visit Brighton and Hove Albion. Now, Brighton and Hove Albion, Brighton and Hove Albion Football Club, commonly referred to simply as Brighton and nicknamed the Seagulls or the Albion, were elected to the Football League in 1920, and in 1910 Brighton won the FA Charity Shield by beating Aston Villa in front of a crowd of 13,000 people at Stamford Bridge. The Seagulls secured fourth place finishes in Tier 3 in 1922-23 season, the 1926-27 season, and the 1927-28 season, and then also in the 1930-31 season. But unfortunately for Brighton, they did not win promotion in any of these seasons. So The club then followed this up with 2 third-place finishes in Tier 3 in 1936-37 and 1938-39. And again, they did not win promotion to Tier 2 in either of these seasons. The Seagulls then went on in 1953 and 54 and the 1955 to 56 season to secure second place finishes in Tier 3 again, but sadly again did not win promotion to Tier 2. And finally, they won promotion to Tier 2 in the 1957-58 season. Unfortunately, however, they would end up back in Tier 4 during the 1964-65 season, but they won the Tier 4 title by 1 point from second place Millwall. And also this season, they enjoyed an unbeaten home record. And they then followed a barren spell of 7 years before the Albion finished second in Tier 3 in the 1971-72 season. And they were promoted to Tier 2. And then 4 years later, they went on to secure a fourth place finish in Tier 3 in the 1975-76 season. But on this occasion, they did not win promotion. However, the very next season, in the 1976-77 season, they would win promotion back to Tier 2 by finishing second in Tier 3. The next season, in 1977-78, they finished fourth in Tier 2, but did not win promotion to Tier 1 as they missed out on goal difference to Tottenham Hotspur. However, they made up for this the following season when they, in the 1978 season, finished second in Tier 2 and they won promotion to Tier 1 finally. In the 1982-83 season, Brighton reached their first and so far their only ever FA Cup final when they played Manchester United at Wembley Stadium. This was the game that ended in a 2-2 draw and produced one of English football's most famous commentary moments, when in the last few minutes of the game, Gordon Smith found himself clean through on goal against the United goalkeeper Gary Bailey, and the commentator for the game confidently declared, "And Smith must score," which he didn't, and the rest, as they say, is history. I have left a link to the game's commentary moment in the description of this video, so go and check that out because it is quite interesting. It's trying to see the commentator dig himself out of that hole. Anyway, the game went on to that FA Cup final. Obviously, went to a replay, and Manchester United made no mistake this time around when they ran out comfortable 4-0 winners, and obviously secured the FA Cup for themselves. Then 5 years later, Brighton found themselves back in Tier 3, and in 1987-88, they finished second in Tier 3 when they lost one game at home all season and were promoted back to Tier 2. Then in the 2000-2001 season, Brighton won the Tier 4 title and won promotion to Tier 3 with quite a healthy gap between them and the team in second place. The gap of approximately, which was 10 points. And the team who finished second that year were Cardiff City. The next season, the 2001-2002 season, Brighton won the Tier 3 title to win promotion to Tier 2, and they managed to secure a points total of 90 and only lost 1 game at home all season. Then in 2003-2004 season, they finished 4th in Tier 3 and won promotion by beating Bristol City 1-0 in the playoff final. And then 7 years later, in the 2010-11 season, they won the Tier 3 title with another massive points haul of 95 and won promotion to Tier 2. In the 2012-13 season, they finished 4th in Tier 2, but did not win promotion to Tier 1 as they lost in the playoff semi-finals, this time 2-0 on aggregate to Crystal Palace, their bitter rivals. And unfortunately, after this disappointment, they followed this up 3 years later in 2015-16 by finishing 3rd in Tier 2, but did not win promotion because they lost again in the playoffs, this time 3-1 on aggregate in the playoff semi-final to Sheffield Wednesday. The very next season in 2016-17, they finally secured promotion back to Tier 1 when they finished 2nd in Tier 1, when they finished 1 point behind Newcastle United, who were Championship Tier 2 title winners. And that season with a 94 points haul, and a points haul of 94. And this ended a 34-year absence from the top flight of English football. Okay, everyone, so that's it for this week. My dear, beautiful friends, I hope that you all enjoyed the show and that you all, like I say, that you're all safe and well. Thanks so much for watching the video. And like I say, I hope you did enjoy it. If I can be just cheeky, please, can I just ask you to hit the like button, the thumbs up button in the bottom right-hand corner of the video, of the screen, and please pass it on to any of your friends, family or colleagues, or cats, dogs, chickens, goats, whatever, who you feel might enjoy watching it. That would be absolutely amazing if you could do that for me. You can do this by clicking on the share button, which is in the bottom right-hand part of the screen, and it sort of looks like a right pointing arrow. Anyway, yeah, so if you can do that for me, that'd be brilliant. Also, if you are new to my channel, please press the subscribe button. That would be absolutely amazing. Again, that's in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And if you press the notification bell, it will make sure that YouTube, well, that's what they say anyway, whether it actually happens or not, I'm not entirely sure. They'll notify you every time that I upload a new video. Anyway, please look after yourselves, guys. Please stay safe and have a great week, or a greater week as you can because of this lockdown. And remember, keep talking. It really, really does help. Thanks, guys, and goodbye for now. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Bye.